I came home after 5 years. The moment I stepped through the door, my sister, who had just gotten a promotion at some mid-level company, looked me up and down. She saw my simple clothes and let out a laugh. 5 years, and this is all you have to show for it? Still just a low-level soldier. I thought you'd at least be a captain by now. My parents didn't say a word, but their faces told the whole story. Dad sighed, shaking his head, while Mom just turned away, a look of pure disappointment etched on her face. Son, Dad finally said, his voice heavy with resignation, your sister is a manager now. Your cousin just bought a new apartment. And you're an embarrassment to this family. An embarrassment. The word echoed in the silent room. 5 years of blood, sweat, and sacrifice, and this was my homecoming. I didn't argue. I didn't try to explain. I just gave them a small, tight-lipped smile and went to my old room. The dust was thick, a perfect reflection of how forgotten I was. That night, at the dinner table, the air was thick with tension. My sister couldn't stop bragging about her new salary, the company car, and the respect she commanded at work. Every word was a dagger aimed at me. You should really think about your future, she said, her tone dripping with mock concern. You can't be a grunt forever. Maybe I can pull some strings and get you a security guard job at my company. It's better than nothing, right? My parents nodded in agreement. She's right, my mom chimed in. It's time you settled down and did something respectable. I just kept eating my food, the taste of ashes in my mouth. They had no idea. They couldn't possibly comprehend the world I lived in, the responsibilities on my shoulders, or the weight of the insignia hidden beneath my civilian shirt. To them, I was a failure, a ghost from the past who had returned with nothing to show for it. I let them believe it. For now. The next day was my grandfather's 70th birthday celebration, a huge banquet held at the city's most luxurious hotel. My family insisted I come, probably to use me as a cautionary tale for the younger cousins. See him, I could almost hear them whispering. Don't end up like him. I put on the only decent suit I had, a bit worn but clean. When we arrived, my sister immediately left my side, rushing to network with the influential guests her new job had brought her into contact with. My parents followed suit, eager to bask in her reflected glory. I was left alone, an island in a sea of champagne and fake smiles. I found a quiet corner and just watched. Then, the doors to the banquet hall swung open. A man in a sharp decorated uniform walked in, flanked by 2 assistants. The room went silent. I recognized him immediately, General Harrison, one of the highest-ranking officials in the entire military command. The city's mayor, who had been holding court in the center of the room, practically sprinted over to greet him, bowing slightly. My family was stunned. My sister's jaw was on the floor. What is General Harrison doing here? She whispered, loud enough for me to hear. He's a legend. General Harrison scanned the room, his eyes sharp and discerning. He politely brushed past the mayor and other dignitaries who were clamoring for his attention. His gaze swept over the crowd, and then it locked onto me, standing in my forgotten corner. A slow smile spread across his face. The entire room watched, holding their breath, as he started walking directly towards me. My parents and sister froze, their eyes wide with disbelief. What was happening? Why was this legendary figure walking towards their embarrassment of a son? He stopped right in front of me. The whole hall was dead silent. He didn't offer a handshake. Instead, he snapped to attention, his back ramrod straight, and gave me the crispest, most respectful salute I had ever seen. Commander, he said, his voice booming through the hall, clear and steady. It's an honor to see you, sir. We weren't expecting you back so soon. Commander, sir. The words hung in the air, shattering the reality my family had constructed. I slowly raised my hand and returned the salute. At ease, General, I said calmly. I'm just here for my grandfather's birthday. The entire room erupted in hushed, frantic whispers. Who was I? How could a low-rank soldier be addressed as commander by a general? I turned to look at my family. My sister's face was sheet white, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. My father's hand, holding a wine glass, was trembling so hard it was about to spill. My mother looked like she had seen a ghost. The disdain and disappointment that had been in their eyes for the past 2 days were gone, replaced by a mixture of shock, confusion, and something else. Fear. Commander. My sister stammered, her voice barely a whisper. But, your rank. You said. I gave her the same small smile I'd given her when I first arrived. You never asked what I commanded, I replied softly. The truth was, I wasn't just a soldier. Over the past 5 years, I had been part of a special operations unit, the Dragon Corps. A force so elite and classified that our identities were a state secret. We answered to no one but the highest echelons of command. We didn't have traditional ranks like captain or major. We had one title, commander, and I was the youngest one in its history. My low rank was a cover, a necessary lie to protect myself and my family from the dangerous world I operated in. The rest of the evening was a blur. The city's most powerful people, who had ignored me just minutes before, were now flocking to my side, trying to get a word in. General Harrison stayed with me, sharing old war stories and updating me on mission-critical intelligence. Our conversation a world away from the small talk and corporate ladder climbing that filled the rest of the room. My family watched from a distance, completely ostracized. The spotlight they craved was now shining brightly on me, but it was a light they couldn't share. After the banquet, on the silent ride home, my father finally broke the silence. "Son, Commander, why didn't you tell us?" His voice was filled with a regret so thick you could cut it with a knife. "Would you have believed me?" I asked, looking out the window at the city lights. "Or would you have just laughed again?" My sister started to cry softly in the back seat. "I'm so sorry," she mumbled. "I was horrible. I was so arrogant." When we got home, the house felt different. The air was no longer heavy with disappointment, but with awe and a deep, unsettling sense of shame. They had judged me based on their narrow, materialistic view of success. They had valued a manager's title over 5 years of silent, dedicated service to our country. They had called me an embarrassment, when in reality, my life was one they couldn't even begin to imagine. I didn't do it for the glory or the recognition. I did it because it was my duty. But that night, as I stood before my family, seeing the true understanding finally dawn in their eyes, I realized something. Sometimes, the greatest victory isn't on the battlefield. It's in the quiet moment when those who looked down on you are finally forced to look up. My homecoming wasn't what I expected, but in the end, it was exactly what we all needed. And for the first time in 5 years, I truly felt like I was home.